for October. Here are the 5 challenges that we have this month, as well as day 8 of the 30 days of sketches. So here is the sketch created by Rachel Usher, and use a sketch just happens to be number 1 on the list. So that was a pretty easy start to the challenge. Check that one off. I love Rachel's sketch. I love the opportunity to get tons and tons of patterns into my layouts. You guys know I love that. So here's a bunch of patterns and papers that I'm thinking of working with, all kind of fall themed. You can see me starting to go through them all. But then I remembered that challenge number, I think it's technically number 3 on the list, but I'll go ahead and mention it here as number 2. The challenge was to actually use a different themed collection from the layout that you're creating, or use a themed collection and create a layout that doesn't really have a theme. So when I start to realize that, you can see I'm really trying to work out how I want to get all these patterns in and, get them used up and get all this fun fall stuff. But in a second, I'm going to remember that, no, this isn't going to work. I need to go get these papers here and use a different theme. So these papers are Willow and Twilight from One Canoe 2. I actually got them from Dollar Tree, if you can believe it. And I realized here, going through I think this is mostly Willow papers, that there are several of the pages that are definitely fall. I would say that this, because of the butterflies and some of the flowers and stuff like that, I would say that this is leaning more towards a spring collection or even maybe a summer collection. But you sort of saw me lay out some of those more simple pages, the B-sides of the pages, and those jewel tones are gorgeous and definitely fall to me. So that beautiful emerald color, and there's like a burgundy, a deep burgundy, and a mustard yellow. And so this is what I'm going to go with. So that is the second challenge, or part of the challenge, that I'm going to be able to check off. I'm doing a fall layout. My picture is definitely fall, but it is black and white. So I picked the picture before I picked the collection, but maybe that's cheating a little bit because black and white is a little bit easier to try to match different colors with. But I definitely think by the end of this, it screams fall layout. So even with the black and white picture, I think people can definitely see what it is I'm going for. So I absolutely adore how this layout turned out, and I'm probably going to say that 100 times. So I'm just going to go ahead and apologize right now that I might sound a bit like a broken record here. Oh, and this beautiful mint. I definitely think that these papers feel like fall. So let's say that that's number 2. And then the third part of the challenge is to use a pattern paper in your background. So obviously you can see here, I've got that black and white check paper that is from the Willow collection. So that works out really good. I think the black and white definitely helps to bring out the black and white in the picture and helps it to not get lost with all of the patterns. And then let's see. Let me say these back. So we've got use a sketch, use a patterned background, use the themed collection for a different theme of your layout, use a technique. So I went ahead and tore my papers. I really love the tearing technique. That's just something that I think leans towards my more organic style of scrapbooking. So I use tearing. I'm also going to do a lot of layering, and to me that's definitely a technique too. And then the last one is to use a number or numbers in your title. That's the one that kind of stumped me, and I really had to think about it for a while. And you'll see me fuss a little bit trying to figure out how I can incorporate numbers into a fall layout. And so I've cut up all of my papers into strips. I did add that leaf paper that is from Strength of the Season from Wild Whisper. I know I'm supposed to use all of a collection, or sorry, let me say this right. I'm supposed to use a collection of a different theme to create this layout. But I did want just some little pops of orange. That was the only thing that's really missing. And I wouldn't even say that it was missing. I don't think you necessarily needed it to be able to have a fall layout, but I just wanted to have those little pops of orange because the color version of this picture, Kaylin is wearing lots of bright orange, and the two are going to actually be side by side. I've already created the layout using color. Well, I've created several layouts actually using color photos from this photo shoot. And so I just wanted to have a tiny bit of cohesiveness. And so that leaf paper brings in the leaf motif and also little tiny touches of orange. The orange in the leaves though has a sort of slight lean towards yellow, so I think it works out really well. And then it does also bring in a little bit of purple and just, I don't know, I needed to have it in there, so I just threw it in there. I don't think it's breaking the rules too badly to sneak in a couple extra bits from another collection. But everything else, the paper, all of it comes from the Willow collection. And so here you can see I've taken the main elements of Rachel's sketch. I've got that sort of almost triangle or angled piece of paper going through the center. And I'm not taking my strips of paper all the way to the top and to the bottom like Rachel did. Because I'm not going to use much embellishment, I just really wanted to be able to have a lot of movement from the paper. And also, I used the tearing technique. And so this was a good way for me to be able to showcase that those papers were torn and also get a little bit of layering in there, which obviously is another technique that I could say qualifies for that part of the challenge. But it just gives movement. It shows the tearing. It gives a little bit of interest because I'm not doing a ton of embellishing. There's so much pattern. I just didn't want other embellishments kind of being put over top of all of that pattern. And then there'd be so much for your eye to try to take in. So I'm keeping the embellishments pretty minimal, but I like that you can see the edges and kind of bring some interest in with just the paper. So really the only embellishment I'm doing is these wood veneer leaves. Again, kind of bringing a little fall into the layout. They're mostly from Stampin' Up, but a few bits and pieces I kind of add in. I just like the container. So whenever I have extra leaves, wood veneer leaves, I just kind of throw them in. So a couple of them come from Dollar Tree, Dollarama, Freckled Fawn. There's a bit of a mishmash in there. But the ones that are the outline of the leaves and then the solid centers, those are all from Stampin' Up. And so I'm just tucking leaves into the top and bottom corners. I think there I was just showing you that I have to try to figure out what to do with my title. So I've got 3 leaves in the bottom right and the top left, and then I put a little acorn and its outline in that bottom left-hand corner. And that's it. That's really all I'm doing for embellishments. Because it didn't need it. It didn't need anything else. The wood is kind of neutral, so it doesn't compete, and it brings in some extra layers and dimension and a different texture. But yeah, I think it's exactly the right amount that was needed. So now I just have to figure out my title, and you can see I've kind of pulled out a few different letters, and at that point, I didn't even really know what my title was going to be. Obviously, I was leaning towards something with the word fall in it, but I don't know, what kind of number do you put in there? The picture itself doesn't have a specific kind of fall theme to it, so it's not like I could really pull anything, or I couldn't really think of anything to pull from that. I don't know. So in the end, what I I sort of came up with was falling for fall, so that I could use the number 4. I wanted to make sure that I really drove home the challenge, so I actually use a number 4, and I picked these gold foam thickers because I just think the gold has a nice kind of warm quality to it that worked well with all the other colors. And yeah, falling for fall, it worked. I had to MacGyver a couple of letters. I didn't have any A's left and I ran out of L's, but it works for me. I think it turned out really nice. I also had to try to figure out where I was going to put the title, because in the sketch the title actually goes in the hexagon where I have my square with my little quote. So yeah, there was a bit of trying to figure out where that is. I picked that quote because I think it worked really well and I liked that it took up space. And again, the writing is something that brings in some interest and some movement and things like that. So because I wasn't adding a ton of extra embellishments and textures, I liked that I could put some writing there. So that is my title, and I think it works. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish it off with some sequins. Those are Wild Whisper sequins that were created by Spiegel Mom Scraps. They're beautiful. They have gold ones and then this sort of red, but actually it looks quite burgundy on this paper, and a green. And I will sprinkle with some gold shimmer as well. And that is it. That's my layout. I love how this turned out. You can see there how pretty the sequins are. They bring the right little bit of shimmer to it. And look at all those gorgeous layers. I definitely think this successfully looks like a fall layout, and I'm really, really happy with it. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Please go and check out all of the links below. Show love to everybody who's been playing along with the Scrap5 challenge and 30 days of sketches. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I super appreciate it. And until next time, happy scrapping. Bye.
Bye. Thanks to me. She button to my channel.